Hey everybody, and welcome! This is the weekly update video thing for the 3rd of August 2016, new month, fancy. As per usual, it is currently 5:01 a.m. and I am tired, but the show must go on. So, first things first, I just got finished editing all of the Fast Food Tycoon 2 stuff that I had yet to edit. And from all of that, I managed to get 2 episodes out of it. That's not as much as I'd hoped would come from that amount of recording, but what are you gonna do? One good thing that did come of that, though, was I figured out what a major problem with my Chroma keying was. The white balance of all the recording stuff that I've used so far has been off pretty badly. So, with everything that I've used, every camera I've used to record so far, the white balance has either been just an auto or it's had a single slider. Now, there should be at least 2 sliders. One of which, the one that is always with them, apparently, seemingly, which makes sense, is a slider between yellow and blue, kind of the hues, to basically change between daylight and, well, day and night sort of coloration to correct for that issue. But the other one is a green and magenta one, which you wouldn't think would be too important, but that's the reason that my green screen in the back looks more kind of dead, and I get that pinkish color, or I've had that pinkish color for most of my webcam stuff. Hopefully that will start to change as I roll these out. The Terraria stuff, I might not have time to fix all the webcam stuff for that right now, but it'll eventually get fixed, at least when I start a new bulk for that. So, furthermore, with the Fast Food Tycoon 2, I haven't yet checked the thing that I said that I was, well, I think it'll be the one that's going out this weekend for you, but surprise, surprise, I didn't make it. And one of the big questions that I had that I didn't get to answer with that was if the 5 places that you needed to have that would be above the, well, that would be making a profit. I'm not sure if those can be rented places or if you actually need to purchase the property, in which case that will be a nightmare and I will end up needing to just run everyone else out of business to get that to work. And now, back a little bit, I didn't organize these bullet points very well, now did I? With the not having enough as much as I'd hoped, that could potentially be an issue with the multiple episodes per week thing, because, as I've mentioned several times in the past, but for those of you who are new here, I've fairly recently, I suppose, transferred to an undergrad college more locally, so I've just been living with my parents. On the weekends I stay at my mom's, and that's where I record, but then on the weekdays, because my dad works on campus anyways, I just ride in with him and I stay with him during the weekdays. So I can record on weekends, and then, but the internet at my mom's place is absolutely abysmal, so I can't upload anything on the weekends. So I record on the weekends, edit some on the weekends, and then edit and upload throughout the weekdays. But I am going to be going elsewhere for grad school, so that hopefully I'll be able to, and that's after this one last semester, because transfer credits. So one last semester, and then I'll be going up to grad school elsewhere, and there I should be able to record and edit and upload possibly all same day. I'll probably still do bulk stuff in the interest of time because it is grad school and I'll probably be busy with coursework. But speaking of grad school, this weekend I am going up with some questions I have about the different departments they offer, or all the different programs they offer. And I do still need to take the GREs, so it's not set in stone that I'm going, but from what I've seen of the GREs, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. And I will be going for electrical engineering. Most likely, I'm planning on focusing in thermoelectric research and development, so probably electrical engineering, unless they have some sort of material sciences engineering type thing, because that's one big thing that the thermoelectric research and development really needs, because that's the big thing holding it back, is the type of material. So in essence, well, I'll preface it by saying initially I didn't even think that this was actually really a big thing. I was just thinking, wait a minute, fairly recently, like a couple months ago, I think, I was just thinking, wait a minute, we don't really have anything that just converts heat into electricity, but thermocouples work by using the thermoelectric effect to create a voltage a potential difference, so a voltage differential based on the temperature. So why not just take a whole bunch of thermocouples, string them together, and bada boom bada bing, you got yourself a extremely inefficient generator. Turns out that they have been doing that, and they've been working on that, but it's still in the pretty early processes, or the early stages, I should say. It's, like I said, it's 5 a.m. So being so early, it's still extremely inefficient. Not as inefficient as a bunch of thermocouples together would be, but it's still pretty freaking inefficient, so that's why you don't see it everywhere. It's way too expensive to make any substantial difference in most consumer applications, and even with large-scale things and really expensive things like cars, it's still kind of a little bit of a difference in a lot of applications. It's really not worth putting it in at the moment. But in the future, this is gonna be a big thing. I mean, it basically takes heat and makes electricity. So anything that gets hot, you can cool it down and make electricity. So computers, all the energy that they're using is getting turned into heat, effectively. Except for like monitors and LEDs and stuff, but pretty much all of it, like graphics card, it's all getting released as heat. So you turn that back into electricity, and boom, it'll help power your system internally without needing to draw all that stuff from the outlet. I mean, that would take a little bit to get started. You'd need to be pumping in the power at the beginning, but after a little bit, it'll be self-sustaining. Well, not entirely. It's never going to be 100% efficient, but as that improves, it will require less and less as it heats up, and it'll keep itself cool with that. Imagine not needing any fans on a device that uses the same amount of power, but not requiring as much power draw because it just powers itself with the heat that it expels. Wow. And so essentially the way that it works is the energy, kinetic energy, temperature is average kinetic energy, and voltage is a potential difference in electrical energy, more specifically. But if you have a temperature differential, meaning it's really hot over here, for an example, and it's really cold over here. Now, normally, you just have the heat moving over. It's one of the laws of thermodynamics, second, maybe. Who numbers them? Doesn't matter which order they're in. But now, what happens if that energy needs to go over here, but it's difficult for it to go over as heat, but it's easier as some other form of energy? So, if you have a material separating them that's a really good electrical conductor, but a really bad thermal conductor, instead of the heat being transferred from point A to point B, the energy will be transferred in the form of electricity. Now that's a really simplified way of looking at it, but that's essentially what happens. So, from that, I gather that the big thing holding it back from being extremely efficient is the material through which the transfer's being... It's 5 a.m. I can't think of words. The material through which the energy needs to transfer. So, if you improve that, then you'll improve the efficiency of the method of generating electricity as a whole. So it would seem that the material side is more important than the electrical engineering side at the moment. But I guess that'll kind of make itself more apparent. Right now I have an electrical background, so it'll be easier to switch back to the electrical side if that turns out being, oh, that's more important. But I think that being a material guy with an electrical background will probably be the best bet. So hopefully there's that. Other applications for this include things, anything that you've got hot on one side, cold on the other, like a refrigerator. Cool your house and use less electricity while keeping the inside of the refrigerator cool. Why wouldn't that be a bad idea? Or things like air conditioning, which I think is the major potential current use for it now, because you're trying to cool down the inside of the place, and so in order to do so, you might as well take some of the energy from outside and then cool down the inside, because then if the outside's less hot, even by the tiniest of margins, it will require less power just in that to keep the inside of the house cool. And if it's using that power, well, if it's converting that energy into electrical energy, it can power itself, kind of. It would still need a decent amount of power from, the power station. It's smart. But yeah, there's a lot of good things that could come of that. Another common use, any sort of combustion engine, like vehicles, any sort of power plant, really anything, any source of generating electrical energy right now could be improved by implementing these. Even solar panels, standard solar panels, not even probably the thermal ones, but maybe those to a lesser extent. But your standard photovoltaic solar panels, the ones that you see people putting on their roofs, those are less efficient the hotter it gets. So, it's getting hot, which is going to happen when it's getting hit by the sun's radiation. You might as well cool it down while also keeping its efficiency up and generating electricity. Same with internal combustion engines for vehicles and things like that. You're not really... Those things have a pretty low theoretical maximum efficiency of like think it's between 40 and 60%. Don't quote me on that, look it up first. But if you can convert the heat straight to electrical energy, then, you know, you could put some sort of electrical motor on that as well. Or just use it to to charge the battery. Even though the whole momentum systems that they've been putting in have been doing a pretty good job of that by itself. But yeah, it's the way of the future. One other really interesting application of it, it's more of a gimmicky thing, I think. Kind of like, well, it's a flashlight that was actually just kickstarted last November, I think. I just looked it up and I saw that it's called the Lumen by some guy named Rost, R-O-S-T, or Roast, from New York City area, New York. But it's basically just an LED flashlight that is powered by the thermoelectric effect. So I say it's like a gimmicky thing, kind of like, you know, a solar powered flashlight. Not quite to that extent, unless it's got batteries in it that the solar panels charge. But when you hold it, it's going to start warming up. So if it's cold, then yes, it'll work really well because it'll take the body heat, that same old point A, point B, thermal differential, and bada boom, bada bing. But then once that starts heating up, that differential is going to drop to start approaching zero, if not drop to zero. Probably wouldn't exactly, but pretty friggin' close. So what happens when you don't have any thermal differentiation? You don't have any electrical energy getting generated. So yeah, that's not the best. So it'll start out looking pretty nice. So I guess you gotta carry around like 30 of them, then just pull one out. Oh, that one's starting to get dim. Next one. Well, that one's starting to get dim. But then even that wouldn't work too well because it'd be cooling down your finger. But I guess your body's going to keep your finger warm. So, I don't know. Food-powered flashlight, I guess. So, I think that's good for now. That was a lot longer than I expected. But, yeah, I'll leave it there then. I'm probably forgetting all sorts of stuff. But thank you all so very much for watching. And I'll see you in the next episode of whatever it is you decide to watch them in. Goodbye.